Ladies and gentlemen, sometimes movies seem disjointed. The title of tonight's lesson plan doesn't fit into the plot anywhere. And what begins as a period cop caper quickly transforms itself into a bizarre conspiracy theory fable that is disjointed from the rest of the movie. I'll explain as cinematic class is about to begin, and your professor is in. Greetings, salutations, another sundry affair. I am your cinematic professor and purveyor of truth in movies. And tonight's lesson plan is a film called Laws of Man. I have no idea where they got this title from. It doesn't fit into the story at all. And if anything, kind of throws the viewer off track because you won't know what you're getting into. Well, Professor, what are we getting into? Well, Laws of Man begins as a very simple tale of two marshals back in 1963 who need to serve a warrant on a rather murderous land baron. Now, it seems a simple task, but these two marshals have two very different approaches to the law, and it causes a little bit of friction between the two of them and how they should go about serving this warrant. Now, up to this point, it sounds like a typical police caper set in the period. We're back in 1963, and a little bit of conflict not only with the land baron, but between the two marshals. Pretty much run of the mill cop caper, and we're ready to go. But then we discover that the land baron has some rather deep and involved international ties. Now, the script meanders for the first hour of the movie and then attempts to compensate that meandering by jamming a very implausible co-plot into the final reels. Here is a look now at Laws of Man.
Sheriff, I'm Frank Fenton. This is my partner, Tom. We're U.S. Marshals. Any idea who did this?
Yeah, Benjamin Bonney.
We have a warrant for your arrest.
Man, make a phone call to the courthouse.
Benjamin Bonney is killing people, and like magic, that warrant is suddenly pulled.
It doesn't make sense.
You hear about the murders?
Boys got a grudge and they'll spill blood over it.
Whole valley's scared to go near him.
Somebody in this goddamn town is crooked.
Tommy!
Who sent you?
Sit this one out.
Whose side are you on?
You got a hunger, Frank.
You some kind of preacher?
That I am. Why are you here?
There's a man killing people. I'm here to stop him.
Ambush! There's only one way this ends.
It's time I had the fire to do something about that.
Rose got enough fires.
One of the pluses for this movie is they have managed to pull in a rather interesting cache of movie stars. Some pretty big names swing by in this, admittedly, for maybe a cameo or an extended cameo, but still they're there. Frank is one of the marshals, and he is played by Jacob Keohane, and Tommy is the other one. He's played by Jackson Rathbone of the infamous or famous Rathbone family. Armstrong is played by Keith Carradine. The sheriff of the town is played by Graham Greene. Joe is played by Kelly Lynn Ryder. She's the bartender in town. Ben Boney is played by Dermot Mulrooney. He is the nefarious land baron. And the Reverend Whitmer is played by Harvey Keitel. He has a very interesting subplot running through the whole movie. Keitel does, and what they're trying to do is parallel the story of Jacob in the Bible with one of the marshals. It's an interesting technique, and I think it's one that would have worked, but they just don't bring it to its full attention.
Yes, this is Officer Morton with the U.S. Marshal Service. Calling to check on a status of a warrant. Issue 13 November, 1 Benjamin Bonney. Yes, ma'am. Yes. Uh-huh. Are you sure? Yes. Thank you, ma'am. The warrant's been remanded.
What?
The warrant was remanded yesterday. The county clerk's office forgot to notify the sheriff.
Why weren't we notified by the field office? Here's what's gonna happen. Joe Bonnie's outside 50 yards away with a rifle ready to blow a hole in the side of your head the second you step out that front door. Now, I don't want to filthy up my floor with a couple of dead marshals, not any more than it's already been filthied. Even though I'd be justified in doing so, because you never identified yourselves as marshals. You start shooting up the front of my house. I have 2 witnesses for it. Now, you fly back to wherever you came from, and don't ever come back here, and I won't have to bleach your skulls and send them home to your mothers for Christmas. How's that for diplomacy, Mormons? Yeah, I'll take that as a yes, sir, and thank you for not cutting my nuts off.
Okay, let's run behind the camera for you here. Our editor is Nico Elba, and our director of photography is Dan Schroyer. Both have done yeoman duty on this, so there's nothing overly spectacular, and there's nothing that's bad. They've done exactly what they are supposed to do. Writer director for this movie was Phil Blattenberger, and he's directed everybody fine. The problem comes in the writing of this script. And as I said before, I can see what he was trying to do, especially with this subplot of the story of Jacob. And that really would have been effective if it could have been laid out a little better and given more expanse and more tie-in than what it is. It's not, and as a result, the movie suffers because of it. One thing that never suffers is checking in with the nation's first and only prehistoric film critic. So let's peel back those veils of time and head back to the early Cretaceous period. See Rex.
Laws of man attempts to justify itself by cramming the conclusion with new plots and a Deus ad machina finale. Why is the Black Russian talking with a Jamaican accent? How did the FBI appear at the most fortuitous moment? Laws of man has no foundation.
Drinking your problems away? The intrepid U.S. Marshal, badge and gun in his motel room, indulges in spirits and barmaids just to ease the pain that he exists.
What are you doing here, Benjamin?
What am I doing here? I'll have what he's having. Make it 2.
I spent my day on top of my roof plugging holes so that when it snows next month, it doesn't drain down into the house and onto the holes in the floor that I just patched. It's November. It's damn hot, and I worked up a sweat, so I reckon thank you, deserve a respite from my troubles. What do you say? You put that on his tab, he owes me one.
You here to shoot up my room again?
Someone shot up your room?
You got a nerve.
I would love nothing more than to blow your insides out all over this bar. Can't think of a good reason yet. Come on, drink it.
Thank you, Rex. The movie is called Laws of Man. I don't even know how that fits in. Some of the big name stars who swing by for cameos in this certainly help the movie along. The subplot of Jacob is probably the most interesting aspect of the movie, and yet it is given short shrift. It is not fully developed. As a result, this movie really falters a lot. We're going to give it a below average grade, probably a C minus, D plus, in that kind of a range there. Hey, before you go, let me tell you that the weather's getting mighty cold, especially over here on the East Coast, and as a result, the official Rex Real store is offering hoodies, sweaters, and blankets at up to 60% off. So this is a nice time to keep warm and snuggly with your favorite prehistoric film critic. The Rex Real official Rex Real store for a big discount and ways to stay warm. Now, before you run off, make sure you click that like button and then go over and click that subscribe button on whatever channel you're watching this review. This way, anytime Rex and I do a review, you'll be the first to know. And movies like this, especially these independent movies, you're not going to find these on mainstream media. They turn their nose up at this type of thing. This is what really is holding up Hollywood now as it goes. Not those big blockbusters that are petering out at the theaters. It's these independent films and smaller films that are really garnering and keeping people's attentions. And you'll find out about it here before you find out about it there. And now that you have learned what you have learned, here endeth your lesson.